Do you enjoy making money? Maybe just a little bit of market manipulation? Possibly even tax fraud? For legal reasons, that last one was a joke. Well, today's video is right up your alley. For the first time in a year, we're bringing back the expanded mod family, which adds a whole bunch of different mods over here, and the goal is to generate as much money as possible while being restricted to having states only in our home trade node. All of the other extra trade nodes we can have as trade companies or whatever we want, but only states in the home one. The run is considered successful when I become the economic hegemon, or I get bored, whichever happens first. For this run, we're gonna pick something a little wacky, a little bit unconventional for your average colonialism game. You know, usually you'd have like Spain, Portugal, France, England, but today we're going with Yemen. Yemen, it's got missions and stuff. Now, you might be thinking, Yemen, that's dumb and stupid, why would you do that? Well, the reason is because there are like no Yemen videos on all of YouTube, like, no one's done it, I don't know why. Speaking of mods, there are like a whole lot of them, and I'm probably not going to explain what most of these do, because that would take a long time. But what you need to know is that we have new trade goods, which are neat and wacky, including stuff like camels, that's cool. We also have trading fairs, which are neat little events, which pop up and maybe give you a couple of bonuses, or detriments, it kind of depends. The last time I played the expanded family, I might have gone a little bit overboard with this thing. I'll just pick the recommended options, but development expanded is great because it allows you to get some free development every now and then. Before we start off with our capitalistic enterprise, we're going to need to reconquer a couple of the cores we've previously lost. I'll have the lights go and grab some trade for us, and I'll build up the army. Our rivals should probably include those which we need to take our provinces from. That would be Aden, Miklaf, and the Rasids. We'll pick up the national tax modifier, and let's deal with the estates. The Sultan's not too great. I wouldn't feel very bad at all if he were to, you know, have a slight accident in battle, maybe. It seems the only accident was deciding to put him in charge of the army, though, considering he's not very good. Well, that's actually pretty lucky. Okay. Yeah, we can take that, sure. I think I'll also take Enforce Unity of Faith, just so I can convert my capital. I'll probably get rid of that later. So, task number 1. Let's take down the Rasids. We have the perfect opportunity to clean them up after they're fighting their own rebels. Or not. Okay, that's cool. Oh, that was almost a catastrophe. Okay, yeah, bad start. I might have done something stupid, but we're good now. Ah, there we go. Just as expected, the Sultans died in battle. Now, let's hire a real general. You have to be joking. They threatened war for that. Oh. Come on, man, really? Now, I will also be integrating Miklaf, despite the fact that it might cost a little bit more. Reconquest either way. Plus, I get a bit of money. And yoink. Now, Aden would be a little bit harder to invade, considering they're allied with Adal and Warsangali, so I can't necessarily block the strait, and that's a bit of a problem. So for now, we're gonna go after this guy, who's allied with Dongola, and these guys are either going to have to take the longest trek possible, or just not do anything at all. Okay, something's not right here. 2 stability events in 6 years? No, that can't be real. Well, okay. As promised, let's go after Najran. They're on the very edge of the land I can own and state. I should mention, it's not just about stating, it's also mostly about owning. So, for instance, I'm gonna try to not take any of the provinces in this trade node, and pretty much the same thing for all of Arabia. Alright, now, a lot of people like to spend their legalism as soon as possible because it'll give them a little bit more money. I think this time, though, I'm just not gonna do that. We get an increase in taxation and manpower while we have high legalism, as well as a reduction in tech cost. Well, that's a situation. It's looking tougher by the day to try and win against Aden. We do have a chance, though. I think if I build a heavy, we would be able to secure just enough naval supremacy in here to hold the strait against everyone's ships. It took them a while, but they finally surrendered after 5 years. I'll take that, thank you. I might want to change over to an Eastern plutocracy. It's part of the whole roleplay. I don't know if it'll actually be better for us, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Alright, I went ahead and built the heavy, but I'm starting to realize I should probably develop the Renaissance, and the extra development could be somewhat useful. I won't have it in the capital, that would be a little too expensive, but I think next door is just fine. There's a somewhat decent chance Adal might not actually join, so long as the war keeps on going, that is. Defender against Ethiopia, well, this could be good. We'll just have to see. Finally spawned in the Renaissance. I can use that to exploit a little bit of dev for some quick cash. I'll use that on some tax income, and of course, right as I finish developing, we get a trading fair, which would have made it cheaper. Cool. No, that's great, that's fine. For the next reform, I'm gonna go and enforce trader privileges. It'll give us a little more trade range, possible trade deals, which I'll elaborate on later, and some trade efficiency, and for some reason they keep feeding my navy. I mean, I'll always accept free ships. I guess I'll check to see how many ships they'll give me first. One. Not terrible. 29 Diplo is a small price to pay for all these provinces over here, so I wouldn't mind taking that. And of course I'll take all of this, most of which are my cores anyway. Alright, that's almost everything I can take from the Arabia side of the Gulf of Aden. I'll still have Hadramut to invade as well. Okay, let's do that. At last we've reincorporated Aden here, giving us a little bit of trade power for a while. And of course that was the first thing you were supposed to do, but you know, sometimes you just have to pick the path of least resistance. Oh. That's disgusting. But I could take advantage of it. For now, I'm looking to take this one province over here from Hormuz. It's the last part of Arabia that we can take, and it's also a trading post, which is fairly useful. Well, this could be a slight problem. That'll probably be fine. Alright, I guess I probably should take the next Miltex, so I'll go ahead and take out a couple of loans, and we'll get some better infantry. As for the first idea group, I mean, we're all about that trade, so with ideas expanded, we do have quite a couple more options. I think I'll take plutocratic ideas. They're kind of like quantity plus trade ideas in a way. You get the manpower and the morale, as well as a merchant, plus the goods produced and the ship trade power. Generally, it's just pretty alright. We'll take the one province we can take, as well as humiliate, war reps, money, and that alliance. Now, this mission will give us a little bit of trade efficiency, and the last person we can rival is, unfortunately, the Mamluks. I'd really prefer not to, though. How about instead we decide to be friends with the Mamluk? There goes the old better Sultan. Now we have some mid on the throne. Pouch of gold, you say? Don't mind if I do. By the way, welcome to Ages Expanded. It's looking a little different than usual. Lots of things to do, as well as like a whole lot more special bonuses you can get. Nothing for us though, unfortunately. We'll just pick up war taxes. I'd say it's just about time we take a trip across the channel as well. So first I think I'll take this province over here. Okay, thank you. And from Ogaden, I only plan to take these two provinces. After all, these ones aren't in the trade node. And of course I'll take a full annexation. As for the next rivals, we'll go with Ajuran at least. And you know what? Yeah, I'll go with Ethiopia too. Now, for idea group 2, this is where I would most likely say trade just because. I could go with econ, but the development cost isn't as strong as it used to be, and the policies look kind of mid. Now, I wonder how everyone else is doing. Burgundy getting slapped as always. Thick Naples, that's new. And it looks like Castile did not take the personal union over Aragon. I remember seeing the event earlier, but I couldn't remember what they picked. Anyway, we've secured the Strait finally. It's nothing too great, but we do get a couple of permanent claims. We can use at least one on Ajuran, but I'd probably wait until I have a few more. And for Ethiopia, we can grab it whenever. Alright, Ajuran. I'm here for like maybe 3 provinces, okay? Now, the reason I declared right now instead of waiting for more claims is because I'll get more claims later, but also because Ajuran still has Tech 5, and we have Tech 7. It just makes the whole thing much easier. Oh, that's a lot of ships. Okay, let's bring those back home. You know, there's nothing I love quite as much as having to take a fort before I can take, like, a few provinces. It's really great. Anyways, I think I'll be breaking a couple of the alliances here, considering the number of ships is rather terrifying. That should be the last of the rebels, and now that we have enough force limit, I think I'll take extra ship trade power. Now, I mentioned these trade deal things a little bit earlier, so let me go ahead and elaborate. These trade deals, you can either import or export different kinds of goods. We have a lot of coffee, which is a plantation good, therefore we can offer some plantation exports. If we offer them, then we increase our plantation goods produced by 10% and they get some trade efficiency, and if we request, then it's the other way around. Because most of our trade goods are, of course, plantation, extra goods produced would be great. If you didn't know, goods produced affects both your production income as well as the total amount of trade value that hits the node. So the more trade power we have in here, as well as the more goods produced we have in total in the node, the more money we get to make. Of course, we can do the same thing in other regions. For instance, if we ask for a couple of plantation imports, then Vijayanagar is going to get more goods produced, which will create more value here, and if we have more trade power, we can bring that towards our node. Well, it may not be the best time to fight Ethiopia, but am I really going to get a better time? At this point, I honestly have No idea what's going on. Looks like we're winning though. Can't demand siege and peace. And Ethiopia is doing surprisingly well for being out-teched here. I don't like it. Well, I just had 3 of the worst rolls I've ever seen in my entire life, so that's cool. How do they have so many men? Well, they may have men, but we have money and mercenaries. Never mind, the mercenaries are not enough. Okay, new plan. More mercenaries. Also, I think I found literally the best mercenary company in the entire pack. 4 artillery for 24 dockets and less than a docket in maintenance. That is fantastic. Of course, they are only siege artillery. They don't really fight, but honestly, it's better than nothing. Finally, all I wanted were these provinces, but you know what? Now that I'm here, I might as well keep going. Alright, there we go. Humiliate, war reps, full money, and those 2 provinces. Sheesh. No wonder they never got Ethiopia. Now, our next trade deal, we can ask Jaunpur for a couple of urban imports that will decrease the technology cost for us by 2%. And for now, that's the last trade deal. Is that Miltech 5 still? Dude, I almost feel bad. Well, that should be just about it. We'll take war reps on top of all these provinces here, which are all within the appropriate node. That's the Rhino's Horn. Unfortunately, it pushes us towards mysticism, but whatever. I'm still gonna have to move my capital. I think the best place I could do that is somewhere that isn't terrible to develop. Surprisingly, these highlands are actually better than this coastal desert. Yeah, I think I will move my capital here. We have so many merchants, it's ridiculous. Are you serious right now? Okay, no thanks. Yeah, this guy is going straight into the ocean. Now, you may be wondering at this point, when do we get to the actual capitalism? And the simplest answer is that we've been doing it the entire time. Right now, we have the 13th highest income in the game and the 2nd highest trade production, but seriously, you've seen nothing yet. For now though, the main point will be to still take these 2 provinces, and every now and then we can debase currency, sell titles, and all that stuff, to eventually get enough money to purchase a trade company. Now, after assaulting the capital, I think we should be able to get Ethiopia out of this real quick. Oh, that's so much better. We're coming up to the 5th reform, so I guess it's about time I explain a new mechanic to you guys. Government's Expanded has a whole bunch of different reforms you can use, and there are a lot of things called empowered reforms, which require certain previous ones to stack to make them available. I'll save you the details, but basically, because I want this right here, we need to have 3 Burger Court influence from our previous reforms. And if I want enough to make sure I can grab that, what I'm going to have to do is take meritocratic recruitment, and I'll probably have to swap from professional army over to the mercenary corps. After preparing some friendly dealings with Gujarat and a whole lot of money involved from exploiting dev and selling titles, I can finally buy this very expensive level 3 world port. Of course, it'll decrease once I buy it, but the main point is that it has some decent dev and can be upgraded to world port, so don't mind if I do. We can finish up plutocratic ideas, which will make my trade ships just a little bit more powerful, and of course we get an extra merchant just in time because now we can slap it in the Malacca node. So now we have income. What are we supposed to do with it? Of course, we have a couple more buildings we can build, which will give us even more trade power. Road networks are an extra free building, just like a university, but they add 20% local trade power. If we put these on all of the provinces, which already generate us trade, then it's a small boost for a very small cost. You might be wondering, what's the point? You're not exactly getting that much more of the home node by building these. For today's lesson in trade, it's time to learn something called transfers from traders upstream. You might have been wondering how I have 16% of this node despite owning none of it. In a case like this, which feeds directly into my home node, you'll see transfers from traders downstream is equal to 59 trade power. Fairly respectable. That's like having maybe 2 of these here. Now, that number is calculated based off of the total trade power we have in our home node. I don't think it's exact, but it's roughly 10% of your current trade power, and that gets transferred downstream to whatever node. So the more trade power we have in here, the more trade power we have in this node and this node. That's why we have more trade power in Ethiopia than Ethiopia, despite having none of it. Now, speaking of trade power, there is still someone who has a little bit more than they should. Now, that's everything in the Gulf of Aden, except these 2 provinces I probably won't take from the Mamluks. Now that I've revealed my hand to Gujarat, I wouldn't feel too bad about maybe rivaling them. I never really needed them to begin with, except for the province. Afterwards, I'm going to use claims to take these 2 provinces here. Okay. The Sultan died a little too early, maybe. At least the Regency is ironically better than the Sultan, so I don't care that much. But we can't declare war for a little while. For this age's first ability, of course I'm going to take a little bit more ship trade power. I don't think I've ever noticed that these are apparently two different modifiers. What does that actually do, though? Okay, so today I learned that light ship trade power propagation is not what I thought it was. So, theoretically, you can kind of see it here with Ayutthaya. A nation can transfer its trade power back upstream to nodes where it already has power. So, theoretically, if we had Alexandria and a little bit of power in that, then we could transfer slightly more power back up to the Gulf of Aden. And that is literally the only thing this does. 6 years I've been playing this game. Huh. Well, that kinda sucks. I think I should probably develop the capital now. After all, it's really not that bad. Now, Vijay would also like to offer a trade deal. We'll get 5% trade efficiency for doing this, and I think that would be a good idea. Alright. There's colonialism. Took long enough. So I went ahead and did the thing I almost never do, and that's building a bunch of dockyards. So with the extra force limit, I can go ahead and build this flagship, which will make all of my ships slightly more effective with the trade route map, and we can also go ahead and start to build even more ships. Now, for the next idea group, I'll probably stack some more trade power or more ship trade power or something. Maybe engineering ideas. These are pretty cool because it actually gives you some development cost decrease. Power projection ideas aren't that bad. We get naval force limit modifier as well as ship trade power, so that could be nice. Or I could take state affairs, which gives more goods produced. You know what? Yeah, let's go with power projection, sure. Now we can get 20 power projection from insulting someone, but of course I'll save that for later. Now that is a lot of trade power. There we go, the Regency's over, that heir's gonna have to die, and once these boats are all done, I'll have just enough to send the army over into India, so we can steal the rest of the trade centers from Gujarat and Sindh. All we need are a couple of trade centers, and then afterwards we won't even need to have our ships here. Plus, the more trade power we have, the more goods produced in other provinces. So we don't even have to conquer everything here, we can just sort of take the trade centers and that's it. Which of course was the plan all along. The Mamluks want to install an heir. The guys who don't even keep their own dynasty. I mean, he sucks, so he's gonna leave anyway, but thanks, I guess. I might have made a mistake here. Yep, mistakes were made, okay. So from Sindh, I'll be taking the one coastal province here. No, actually, I think I'll take these two, won't I? Yeah, I will. Now, Sirhin's been a little bit of an issue. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of those guys. That's awkward. A defensive war against the Ottomans. You really couldn't have asked at a worse time. In fact, I actually forgot we were allied. Unfortunately, I feel like living today, so I'm gonna have to decline. Now, from Sindh, I'm gonna go ahead and request something very simple. These two provinces here are both trade centers, so having them is really important. We'll go ahead and turn both of those into trade companies once I can core them. And from Gujarat, it's not all that different. I'll take these two provinces over here, and I'll also ask you to transfer whatever trade you have left. Now with 74% of the trade power, every other province is going to increase its goods produced, which is going to, in turn, increase the amount of value in the node, which I can take for myself. And that's what we call doing business. Now, speaking of business, I have to say the island here is looking very for sale. Thank you. Now, I can't really buy anything from Jaunpur, so I don't think they're very useful as a, quote-unquote ally. Instead, I think I would prefer Bengal. They have a lot of, very for sale, nice farmland over here. I just hope they don't mind sharing it. 1530 and we can finally afford to boost up one of our marketplaces to level 3. Now that we're friends with Bengal, I'll have to wait for their war to finish and then maybe I can take this province right here. Might cost a little bit more than expected, or a lot more. Okay, maybe we can be better friends. We can also give you military access and you started a war. Wow. Okay. In the meantime, I can boost this up as well, and the Mamluks have rivaled me. Thank you, Mamluks. That's exactly what I needed right now. While Bengal is doing their thing and we lose stability, I'm gonna go and try to be friends with Singapore here. After all, Malacca does have a whole lot of money to spare, and I'm hoping to eventually make my way over to Ming. Now, funny enough, I could start using Marines now. I've never found Marines to be particularly useful, but they are a kind of a good meme. You know what? How would you guys like to see a Marine only run? It would be painful. painful, but I'd do it. Wait a second, is that Vijay? Are you going colonial? They're doing some colonial thing. Where are you getting this? I'm so confused. Maybe they have missions, I don't know. Anyway, I'm really over here just so I can invite a couple people to the trade league. Now, what would the chance be of the Mamluks declaring on me? Not that high, right? Well, you know, just in case. This just in, we've crossed the 100 docket a month threshold, 1534, and things are going smoothly for Yemen Enterprises. And our node is, I'm pretty sure, the highest value in the world. You know, this rivalry with the Mamluks is actually really good for us. Either we'll die, or we can issue an embargo, which should kick most of the remaining trade power that they have out of our node. Or, pretty much nothing will happen. Cool. That HRE is a little, that's a little terrifying, actually. And of course, Austria is super thick. If they can deal with the religious war, then I wouldn't actually be all that surprised if the HRE makes it pretty far. Thank you. Pleasure doing business. Let's see, which one is cheaper? This one or... oh, definitely this one. Oh yeah. 13 dev versus 15. Oh, that is farmlands though. Tough. Very tough. Never mind, they're asking for 3 times the price. I'm buying that. Alright, cool. Now, fun fact. You can actually get a better dev cost reduction than you could possibly get in a state. In a trade company, all you have to do is click this right here, and I can develop this a lot easier to get it to 25 dev so I can turn it into a better center of trade. And whoops, oh, would you look at that, now we're making more money than Ming. You know, surprisingly, Bengal is actually willing to sell a whole lot more than one province. The game really wants me to fight somebody, and honestly, that somebody's probably going to be Vijay. Okay. That's probably fine. For the Tier 6 reform, we have our Empowered General Estates, which should give us a couple of decent burger bonuses. I should probably stop joining offensive wars. Now, the Burger Council. What shall we decide? Center of Trade upgrade cost decrease and provincial trade power plus mercantilism, or trade efficiency, or development costs and manpower recovery speed. Okay, well, we're gonna go with this one. Mercantilism's pretty useful to stack a whole lot of, considering the bonus it gives you to provincial trade power, up to 200% extra at max. Okay, so here's an idea. Most people despise taking monopolies because you're just losing money on them all the time, but in this case I think if I take like a really weak monopoly, something that really sucks, I'm only losing like 2 or 3 ducats, right? It's not that bad. Plus I get 1 extra mercantilism every like 10 or 15 years. So if you think about it, I'm really paying like 3 or 4 ducats for 1 extra mercantilism. It's not that bad. It looks like today might be our lucky day. Vijayanagara has, for some weird reason, decided to put half their army on a random island in Indonesia. Now, the only thing stopping us from starting this war is Bengal being a little bit of a broke boy. That's alright, because I'm going to ask them to join in anyway, except that we're at war, so we can't do that. Okay, I'm gonna pay them a little bit of money so they can be less broke. That might be bad. Yeah, that might be really bad. Oh god, no. Oh please. I was so close to sieging this. Well, I guess it's merc time. It's a good thing I'm rich. Just watch this guy walk off a 42% fort. Feels good, man. Alright, so in total this peace deal is going to look kind of like this. All of these are centers of trade except for this province down here, which I just made a connection with. A couple of countries care, but not enough for me to care. And I'll be taking the rest of this money as well as war reps. Oh right, I kind of forgot to give Bahmanus something. Okay, you can have that. Now we've become a great power finally, barely beating out Portugal for the 7th place spot. And very quickly I'm just going to turn all of these into trade companies. And the total money we make from Coromandel is 84% of it, just around 29 ducats. Now that all the cores have been cored and our trade power has gone back to how it should be, we can see that we're making 184 ducats a month, which just so happens to be the most in the world. So if I want to continue making money, the way I'm going to do that would be doing the same thing I did to Vijay, but in Bengal, and then doing that once again in Malacca, and then perhaps China. That's pretty much everything I can make. Seeing as I'm going to be breaking my lines with Bengal, I'm gonna go ahead and secure one with the Ottomans. Yeah, sorry about that, boys. There aren't a lot of good places to dev this institution, and if I remember correctly, printing press is like the slowest one to move in the game, so I'm probably going to dev that somewhere around here, maybe? Yeah, let's go with that. Am I really going to go back to war with Vijay? That sounds like a terrible idea. No, I don't think so. This seems like it's the best opportunity I'm going to have to attack Bengal without their allies. So let's get down to, business. Okay. I better get this fort this time. I swear. If I don't get this fort, I'll delete my own channel. Good decision. Alright, we're done, and that should be all of the trade except for this province. Okay, I should probably take that too. Let's assign all of that to the trade company. Now that almost everything's been cored and I've built a couple of marketplaces, we should see that the income is even higher than before. And after embracing the institution, I am the 5th greatest power, despite having the 2nd lowest development. You know how I started off this video saying either I get economic hegemony or I get bored? Well, yeah, would you look at the length of that video? Oh boy. I mean, it's 1563. I've taken, like, all of the money I'm going to get from India with the restrictions of this challenge. And truth be told, I have to admit, I actually did do this run before deciding to record it. So if you're looking to see if it's possible to get economic hegemony pretty early, I think the time I got on that was like 1663, so yeah. Anyway, now that you've watched this video, go ahead, start up a game and start making some money. That's right, you've unwittingly been watching a trade tutorial this entire time, taking the centers of trade, making trade companies, sometimes making investments, but not so much early game, and just making sure you control the trade power, because that's what matters the most. The Gulf of Aden is actually not a very good trade node to have as your home node. That's mainly because Hormuz, Alexandria, and Zanzibar all steal from it. You can see that right here, how I'm losing like 25 ducats. So ideally, in a different timeline, I'd probably move my capital to Hormuz and then seize all of Basra, because that would turn Hormuz into what we call a pseudo-end node, where you control all of the trade node in the only downstream node from it, and nothing escapes this node. But yeah, this run actually wasn't so bad. We ended up making our beautiful Yemen-incorporated enterprise span across the Indian Ocean, bringing peace and economic prosperity by force. So that's everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. This is Quarbit signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. Big thanks to the patrons this month. All of these people get early access to videos, so if you want early access to videos, all you have to do is check down in the description and subscribe to the Patreon for at least $1. And if you're looking for something else to watch, I'd recommend these videos up on screen.